All right, welcome to Blue by 90, presented by Mason Brew. I am Justin, joined by Jack and Kailen. Welcome. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. Thanks for listening here to the show. We are just not a couple, but three dudes that you told me that I was gonna butcher this, and I already am butchering this. So
You're doing great.
if you're yes, this is all the content that you're going to get here at Blue by 90. We talk football, we talk basketball, we talk a lot of different things, but for the most part it's about the Wolverines. And we like to give some pretty legitimate analysis. I'd say from the couch analysis, right? But putting some comedic spin on it and things like that. So strap in and get ready for what we've got here today. And I mean, no better way to start it off here than on a victory Sunday, right, boys?
Beautiful intro as well.
Yeah, that was great. I thought you were gonna really butcher it, but it wasn't bad at all.
Great. All right. Good stuff. Well, Michigan pulled away late yesterday. I mean, that was one of those games where, again, I think that Cade said it after the Nebraska game. Old Michigan teams lose that football game, right? And this football team is able to bounce back. And so it was just really exciting to see them, even after a late fumble, even after, the offense was sputtering for quite some time and Penn State put it all together. To see them bounce back was pretty awesome. I mean, was this just one more example for you guys that this team does look different than past teams?
Yeah, I think 100%. And I'm glad you brought up the Cade comments after the Nebraska win, because when I was watching that game, even after the fumble in the fourth quarter, I'm like, typically I'd be like, oh, here we go again, going to be another loss. But I'm like, you know what? There's still time on the clock. The defense has been playing well. I think Cade will have another opportunity to lead us down the field, and he did, man. Eric All with the burners.
Ooh, I had no idea he was that fast.
They finally put him out in space, and you got to show off the speed, right? That was awesome. No, this was definitely a throwback to our old phrase, gritty, not pretty, right?
For sure. Yeah, that was, I mean, which I love about this team, that they do have that grit. They have toughness. It's cold and windy and rainy on the road. And, even though it's not a night game whiteout, that crowd was still very into it. That was a tough environment to play in. And even though Penn State, I don't think is, this isn't one of their best teams that they've had in the past decade, for sure. But they're not a bad team. So their defense is pretty legit, I think. And so, yeah, I thought that everything went well for Michigan, all things considered. But I think there were a lot of holes too, where it was like, man, I'm not sure if we're good enough to win this game or that we're playing good enough to win this game. So I guess let's get to some concerns that you guys had too. What were you guys? I mean, for me, the first thing was just play calling at times was very good. I thought Josh Gaddis in the red zone actually called a very good game, but there were other times where it's like, all right, once again, how many times can we run it up the middle with Hassan Haskins? And everybody, even my grandma, knows that they're going to run it up the middle here, So what do you guys think about, play calling and just any other concerns that you had from Michigan yesterday?
I think for me specifically, I loved that second touchdown, that red zone play call.
Yeah.
Fake the run up the middle and get it to Roman Wilson, in the end zone. So I loved that. But I'm with you. I feel like there was plenty of times where we're like, all right, here we go. Haskins up the middle again. And I feel like typically they don't run Haskins outside. I feel like typically that's like Corum, right? And Haskins, ran the ball 99% of the time yesterday. But I don't know, man. For me, they kept it close and they were in the game the whole time. So as far as concerns, I'm going to stick with the positive vibes only. I didn't have too many major concerns. I thought Cade threw the ball well, especially on that first touchdown to Roman. I thought he made good decisions. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, I thought the play calling, I actually wasn't that concerned with running Hassan. I think more like an agreement with Jack where they're saying like running him on the outside was more where I was concerned. Um, and then like outside of the red zone was where they struggled, which is so strange. It's like
Right.
the total reverse of the entire year, right? You're like, oh, they're going to struggle in the red zone and then they struggle outside. I can't figure that out. Um, I was actually more concerned with defense on third downs. It felt like
And fourth down.
it's like every third and long. Oh, they got it. Every fourth and short. Oh, we can't stop them 2 yards.
I
Yeah,
think we say that too, though, but it's like it's still that bend don't break
yeah.
defense, right? They only let up 17 points, and 11 of them were in the fourth quarter, which is concerning. You don't want teams coming back at the end of the game, but I don't know. When it came down to it, Penn State was kicking field goals. They had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
It's just that momentum thing, right? Like if you can silence them, then your defense isn't on the field like the whole game. Like
Which
that
they
first
were.
quarter, quarter, we had one possession, and it just felt like the entire quarter expired. And I was like, I don't think our offense has been out there for a hot sec.
Yeah, I that definitely. It felt like the same thing happened in the Michigan State game too, where it was like they'd pin them back, and then third and long or on a fourth and short or something, then we allow it to happen. And so I think it's that like nail in the coffin thing that they need to take that big step forward to be able to say, all right, 3 straight downs, we're holding them, and so obviously that's easier said than done. But it's something there definitely is something there where it feels like we like do really well on the first 2 downs, get them in a bad situation on third down, then we maybe like relax a little bit. Or like there were times where it's like it's 4th and 4 and Vincent Gray is playing 7 yards off the guy, and I'm just like, hey, let's play at the sticks, right? Like little things like that, I feel like we can definitely improve on. And so, I mean, let's get the negative stuff out of the way. I don't want to be this like negative Nancy, but we'll talk about some positive stuff. But I guess the biggest concern I had after watching yesterday is once again, you have a lead in the third quarter and you just can't put them away, right? You just can't put that nail in the coffin and say, all right, let's score one more time. They had plenty of opportunities, but they sat on that lead. They let them hang around. And then all of a sudden it was a tie football game in the late in the fourth quarter. And I feel like that has been our Achilles heel all year. And that's the only reason why we have one loss on the record right now, And so that I think that's like the difference between good and great football teams. Good football teams will play well enough to win. Great football teams will play well enough to win, but put you away at the end of it.
I'll be nitpicky with you here too. So if I'll find one negative, I do think Clifford was the best quarterback we've faced all season. Sorry, MSU fans, Peyton Thorne. I mean, Clifford was the best. I think he picked apart Michigan's defense a little bit in zone coverage at times. I mean, overall, his completion percentage was right around 50%. Now to go back to positive with what you said, good teams, they hang around and whatever, great teams, they put the team away. Yeah. But typically, with Michigan being a good team, we see them lose that in the fourth quarter. Great teams come back and win. And Michigan did that. That's a positive.
Well, you're really putting a spin on it, Jack.
I have to, man. I have to. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Great teams don't have to come back because they're already ahead. Right.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, though, let's be honest. If you told me before the season that we'd be leaving Happy Valley in week 10 at 9-1, I'm like, hell yeah, I will take that 100 times out of 100. You know what I'm saying? And I will say it makes me sick that we lost that MSU game because we should be 10-0, 100%, and should be number 2 in the nation, should be all that. But Yes, let's stay positive. I mean, this football team, Hassan Haskins just put the team on your back, dude. You are, I mean, what a freaking beast. I would love to know. I didn't find this stat, but I'd love to know his yards after contact yesterday because it seemed like 75% of them were after contact.
I'm glad you said that because I feel like when I was watching the broadcast that it said, I think it was they had his total yards up there and it was somewhere in the first half or second half. And he had 99 total yards. And I want to say that he had like 55 after contact. I could be throwing numbers out of nowhere, but I feel like I remember seeing that. And I also feel like he quietly had a very big day. His longest run was 17 yards, but he had 31 carries and 156 yards on the day.
And
that's crazy.
And he took the entire load. Donovan Edwards,
yeah,
I thought for sure that they'd do a 1-2 punch, but he only had 2 carries. So it was the Hassan Haskins show. And he said, I'm with it. He said, I can take care of this. And so, yeah, it wasn't like, where in the past, Hassan Haskins has had, or just in general, running backs have a big day. Their stats are big because they have a 75-yard rush. No, it was Hassan Haskins just pounding the ball. Yeah. And it worked when they needed it. And there were times where like, it was just like, man, I don't think that was a great play call. And I think that it wasn't supposed to work, but Haskins just like said, all right, I'm pounding through this guy and I'm going to stretch this into a first down. So, I mean, game ball has to go to him, right?
You think so? I mean, like I said, it was like a quiet game. Like a lot of people are looking at Roman Wilson having 2 touchdown catches, Cade having 3 TD passes. I think that was the most passes he's had in a game his entire career. And then Eric All, obviously, with the big play. But yeah, I mean, it'd be hard not to give it to Haskins.
Yeah, he had a big day on the offense. And then on the defensive side, I mean, you can't ignore thunder and lightning. Right? Hayden Hutchinson, David Ojabo. Just, oh my gosh, like talk about unstoppable.
That's where I do have to give Sean Clifford a lot of props for like staying in there and not just like completely curdling basically, by the fourth quarter. For him to still be upright and throwing well in the fourth quarter is pretty impressive. But I mean, he had to be hurried, pressured, sacked on just about every play, it felt like. And I was just watching from my perspective, it was like you watched Aiden and Ojabo on the edge every time, and my eyes were just on them. And I was like, I already know they're getting to the quarterback. Like their ears were pinned back, and it was just like, those guys are 100% getting to them for sure.
I mean, they had 5 sacks combined in that game. 5 sacks combined. And I think Hutchinson, it should have been 3.5 because he went in with Colson on one. But dude, talk about Junior Colson, true freshman. He was the leading tackler for the team.
Wow.
He had a big day.
I mean, I thought, you just talked about it where it was like, who do you give the game ball to? You could argue just about anybody. Honestly, I felt like there were so many guys that stepped up yesterday, and 7 sacks is insane for one game. It's just wild. And so this is exactly what Mike McDonald wanted these guys to do, though. And you know what? Unfortunately, though, the cause or the result of it is going to be that we're going to lose Aiden and Ojabo both. But they deserve it, man. Those two are just impressive.
Well, I'll tell you what. I love those guys. I want them to get their money, but all right, everybody who's listening here, how do we get them to stay? We got to start some sort of rumor that they were doing, I don't know, maybe some deals before NIL came out. How do we get them to stick around and still be eligible to play next year? Let's work on that.
We can figure something out there.
We can figure something out. Yeah, we'll cook something up.
I mean, somebody's got to be able to fork over an NIL deal that would equal their first round pay, right?
Right. Come on. Where's Steve Ross at? Come on. Big booster money. Let's go.
Exactly.
I know, Ro, you were looking for the QB pressures, I think, on the day. So ESPN has QB hurry stats, and Ojabo had 2 sacks and also 2 QB hurries.
Okay. And they both had a forced fumble, him and Aiden too, right?
I believe so. Yeah, they did. It's not shown on here, but I recall that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine being a left tackle or right tackle and having those guys. And I don't know, the standing up thing is so much better and so much more intimidating too.
I was going to say so intimidating.
Oh man. I mean, they're just so strong, but they make one little move and put the guy on skates and it's just like off to the races basically. The one thing I did want to point out too, that was one of my favorite things was there was one play where Junior Colson came on the blitz and Aiden came off the edge and it was who could get to him first, basically. Yeah. And the running back had to pick. He picked Aiden, and then Aiden still got through and was like missed the sack probably by like half a second because Junior Colson got there first. And then on top of that, David Ajabo was also he like didn't get to him, but was out there celebrating after like he had just sacked him. It's just like it's just a group effort from all of them, and it's just it feels like they're a true one unit.
Yeah, that running back looked like me about 10 beers deep in beer league softball, just completely whiffed. He wasn't getting anybody.
No. Oh man. Yeah, I thought this defense played really well. The bend but don't break. I mean, there were definitely times where I mean, if you do, obviously you can say this and it doesn't really mean much, but if you take away those fourth down conversions, let's say they punt, then this defense looks even better, and so I think it's tough. This defense played incredibly well, all things considered, of how much they were on the field, how often they went for it on fourth and whatever, and all the fakes,
Yeah.
Which, all right, let's talk about how big of an idiot James Franklin is. I mean, what was the field goal? So let's think about this logistically. You're gonna try and have your kicker go one-on-one with our corner? Like, how do you think that's gonna work, man?
I mean, it was Vincent Gray and Dax Hill, but my favorite part, it didn't execute at all. But my favorite part about it was James Franklin was actually like pissed off that the holder didn't throw a perfect pass to the kicker. What do you expect?
I saw him going down the sideline. He was like motioning, like, "Well, you put it on his back hip,
right?"
Like, oh, if you hit him in stride, like he's gonna score there. Like, what?
I was losing it. I love that.
Sorry, coach. I'll sit in on the QB meetings next time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I mean, and I think I was so frustrated too on that first punt fake too. I was like, Jim, you called a timeout because you knew they're faking it, and then they still got it. And who was it that was covering? I can't remember.
14. I think he's a young guy.
Yeah, but he was like, I think he almost was in his head too much that he knew it was a fake, and so he's like looking back for the ball, and that's
spun
what
around.
Caught him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some press conference, or in the press conference, they asked him about that, and Jim was like, "Well, we had 13 guys on the field, so I called the timeout." And I'm like,
I didn't even know we had that many
it.
guys on the field.
But like, you're playing James Franklin, like that he's gonna go for it, right? Like, right. I don't know. I was sitting on my couch going like, "Oh, they're going for this."
It was very obvious.
I feel like that kind of had to be a little bit of a confidence boost for that team too. They're like, "Oh, they feel like they have to go for fakes to beat us."
Yeah. I mean, it felt like once again, how many times have we felt that every team this year has had to pull out all the stops to try and beat Michigan? Nebraska pulled out every little play. Michigan State was pulling out everything too. I mean, every team this year has tried to utilize their entire playbook, every fake, everything to try and beat Michigan. And that's where I do feel like that whole like Michigan is the most complete team thing actually is true. That's where I do think that part is true. But I also wanted to talk about Cade. What did you guys think of Cade's play yesterday?
Thought it was fine. I had nothing to complain about. I loved that pass down the middle for the first touchdown to Roman.
Yep.
I mean, he put it right on the money,
That
right
was
where
a
it needed to be.
phenomenal throw.
And I mean, the kid's got like half a cast on his hand. If you don't throw a dime there, he's probably not getting it.
Right.
So he put it right where it needed to be for Roman, and that gained a little bit of momentum. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns on the day, man. That's a good day. I'll take it. I had no complaints about Cade yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, right? He managed the game and he made some pretty good passes. I thought that were like kind of right on the money. While the guy was like running a route. So nothing to complain about for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Cade, I don't think he was phenomenal yesterday, but I think he did enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're expecting him to be phenomenal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where, if you're thinking that Cade McNamara is about to be Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, you just can't expect that, right? There were some throws for sure where I was like, that's not a good throw. But I also thought that he managed the game pretty well. I thought that he, there were some times on the 4th and it was like 4th and 3 when we ran it off tackle with Hassan. We had 7 guys to the right of the center and 3 guys to the left. I'm just like, hey, Cade, is there any chance that you could see that and maybe audible and say, because if you looked at it from the back, I think I can't remember who put out the screenshot of it on Twitter, but it was like Penn State had 8 guys all stacked up against Michigan's guys. It's like, can we audible and just do like a sneak out of one of Eric Hall was the fullback, sneak him out to the left, and we got a touchdown easily. So, I mean, there were little things like that where I'm like, I would love to see Cade take that next step and be able to manage the game even better like that, where it's like, see the defense and help Josh Gaddis out and Josh Gaddis should do that too. He's got a straight line to Cade, so, but 19-29, with those 3 TDs, which is the best, most TDs he's had, I think was a pretty solid day for Cade.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about Cade, I haven't really heard too many people talk about, but I saw it yesterday, was his ability to do like that sidearm throw. Did you guys see that as well?
Yeah, that one. There was an angle coming from the backfield or coming from like the defensive secondary. That was pretty sweet.
Well, I don't know how many people are going to like this. Maybe they will, but I think, Cade reminds me of so much Phillip Rivers, just the way he throws. Kind of like pretty low arm angle, like he's kind of down there, like, not a great runner, but when he does go for a run, they even run the same. Yeah, I feel like they run similarly. Like I want to put like a side by side of them just like passing and running, and people are like, "Oh shit, it's Phillip Rivers Jr."
That's a good comparison.
I do what I can. I contribute every now and again.
Yeah. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. So there you go.
That's right, baby. I'll take it.
Yeah, that play though that I saw from that sidearm, like he went down like Matthew Stafford style, like through that window and put it right on the money. Actually, it was not on the money. Now that I remember, it was like way behind Roman Wilson, I think, and Wilson made an incredible catch. But hey, we'll take it. So
one thing I do want to bring up too when we're talking about quarterbacks, I think it's the first game all year that JJ didn't get a snap.
0 plays. 0
Interesting.
Plays.
Very interesting.
I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know what to think of it either. Especially after, so what I heard was that Cade is only like 90%. He's been really banged up since the Michigan State game. And, I think we saw him limping a lot during the Indiana game, and that was why JJ played quite a bit. But for them to not put JJ in at all, even like a couple times, is there no confidence anymore in JJ? Or, I don't know. It was that was very interesting to me.
I think it's almost just like a statement for like Cade. Be like, all right, this is Cade's team. Like we don't need you to come out of the game. We believe in you. And I think it's a good move going into the end of the year. I mean, really trust your quarterback, especially going into the Ohio State game. Like if you're not going to go with JJ and, do what you've been doing, I think it's a great move. But if JJ ends up playing in both those games, I think it's just a weird move that he didn't go in. So I don't know. Maybe there's something else going on there.
Yeah, I mean, he was healthy from what I know, so it wasn't that. But yeah, I thought there were times though when it was like, all right, we've run it with Hassan up the middle 7 times in a row. Maybe this would be a time for JJ to come in. And I'd rather, if we're doing that, here's my thing with running up the gut. If we're going to do that with Hassan, just run it under center and let him get a head start going to the line. Because when we run it a quote unquote RPO or a read option with Cade, nobody's expecting Cade to take the ball. So it's not, that's not a threat. Whereas if we are running it with, JJ, then it's a threat for him to run. So they have to take a linebacker and account for JJ. So either run it from under center and just like go pro style and just, do that, or get JJ in there if you're going to do that. So.
And that would really set up the play action too, if they're going under center. Like it's almost like a win-win. I'm with you. It's a good point.
I'd love to see more play action too.
I'd like to see Cade have a little bit more of that like escape ability, like when he comes back to pass, if the linebackers are just not there, then I'm like, all right, then just take off,
Yeah, even if it's for 5 yards, that's a good, that's a good gain. I'd love to see him move around the pocket a little bit more too. It feels like the pocket collapses on him, and then he's not that tall, so he just, a lot of times he looks like he disappears into the pocket a little bit. So I don't know. I think that Cade has done a really good job though so far. And people that hate on Cade, do I think Cade is going to be an unbelievable quarterback for us? Probably not. Do I think Cade has done a good enough job to win us 9 football games? Hell yeah, he has. So you can't be pissed about what he's done this year for sure. So
I'm not gonna go as what you kind of said. I'll kind of go off that a little bit. I think he will be remembered very well no matter what happens. But if he can come out and give Michigan a victory over Ohio State, that changes the story a little bit, right? Exactly. Yeah. Build the statue. Yeah.
with the plaque says, what if we win out?
That would be incredible. I would love to see it.
Yeah, can the statue have frosted tips too?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Hell yeah. By the way, Eric Hall with that TD, so that's now the 3rd tight end touchdown for our boys. Joel Huntingford's got to be pumped.
Got to be next up. Come on, they're saving his for Ohio State. That's what it is.
Oh, hell yeah. There were a couple times too where Huntingford was split out wide, and I was like, oh boy. And then they immediately motioned him right back in.
Oh. You guys like that interview at the end? And Eric All was just like awkwardly standing there.
Oh, Jim. That is incredible. By the way,
he's like trying to pass her off. He was like, okay, bye.
and that was too Molly McGrath. She's been trying to. So Matt Burns told us that the ESPN crew has been told to just like chase down Jim and make sure you get Jim Harbaugh on the interview, and he just doesn't want to. So like after the Nebraska game, that video of her just like literally sprinting after Jim and Jim sprinting off the field, and then this one, she's like trying to ask Jim a question, and he's just like, look at my boy.
Have you met Eric?
Yeah. Oh man, that was great. What did you guys think too? I wanted to talk about, so apparently Jim's pants caught on fire on the sideline. They didn't show it on the broadcast on TV, but on the radio broadcast, they talked about Jim. He was like too close to a heater talking to players and didn't notice it, and his pants caught on fire and melted.
Oh, that's not a good look for Lulu, man.
I know.
I thought they're supposed to be flame resistant, flame retardant, whatever it's called. Their stock is dropping. Lulu's stock is dropping.
I was laughing
That's
so hard.
unreal.
My dad called me and told me about that. That was hilarious.
Of course.
That's a whole new version of being on fire, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
What do you guys think about the jerseys, the uniform combo?
I liked it. I love that they're kind of embracing it too on social media. Like, I think that post they put up was hilarious.
The
Where it's like,
SpongeBob,
yeah,
what you've
yeah,
all been waiting for.
yeah. I think it was hilarious. I mean, Sydney Sims and that whole team over there has been doing such a great job on social. This year has just been, it's hard to miss that they've done a complete overhaul of it, and they've really done a great job with it.
Right.
But I like that they're playing around, man. Have fun. Like, it looks like the whole team is having so much fun. And Clayton Safety put up a picture that UMich football took, and it was like the whole team after the win, and Harbaugh's like in the back just cheesing so hard. Oh man, I loved it. The team's having fun, and they're just like, whatever, let's mess around with the uniforms, let the kids kind of enjoy it. Recruits probably love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great, man. I think it's great. If they're able to get the maize tops and blue bottoms for Ohio State, I will be the happiest fan alive.
Oof, that would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome, man. I can like feel them having fun, right? It's like through the screen, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I've felt that for the basketball team a lot over the past decade, but I haven't. Like, there's only been a handful of times where I felt that from the football team. And right now, it for sure feels like that's coming from the football team. And it definitely starts with Jim. You know, like the people that I talk to within the program that have been on these road trips are just like, Jim is so happy. He loves this team, going nuts in the locker room, high fives and hugs, like acting like a little kid. That's what we haven't seen from Jim over the past 2-3 years. And like, it's like he found the love of football again. And I love that for Jim, honestly.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is a game. You're supposed to have fun playing it, have fun
Yeah.
coaching it, have fun being involved with it. So that's awesome to see. I'm glad Harbaugh's back.
Yeah, what did he say in the clip in the locker room? He's like, "You were born for this."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got chills now."
And just him giving shout outs to everybody. He was giving a shout out to Gaddis, and then Gaddis passed it off to Mike McDonald. Then they shouted out Jay, and like the video cut off, but I assumed he just kept going through every coach essentially. It definitely feels like in the past, I don't know how much players like loved the coaching staff, but now it's like they like see them as like those brothers. Like, it's a true like family feel from the locker room for sure. And it's easy to say that when you win too, but like even after the MSU loss, like everyone was like, we're not wavering here. This is us. Like, we're happy to be in the spot. Like, you know, we're still together, all this stuff. So whether it ends up, you know, whether it ends up at the end of the year with whatever type of outcome, I do feel like the program is in a much better spot culturally than it has been in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to disagree with that. And with the coach shout outs too, I think for us as like fans on the outside looking in, when Harbaugh shouted out Gaddis and the players went nuts, I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really cool to see. Players have his back, and you know, they recognize he called a great game. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Especially after I'm sure that like they've heard the noise.
Oh yeah.
About
you can't not
in the past, right? Like, hey, how does this team not, you know, score more points? The creativity, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's Jim Harbaugh being like, no, dude, you did a great job. You're our guy type of thing. So yeah, man, I just love, I do love seeing these guys pumped up, and it's been a fun ride through 10 weeks, man. Been a fun ride, that's for sure. So yeah, what else do you guys got to talk about? I forgot what I was gonna say, honestly.
We can talk basketball a little bit.
Oh, we can talk hoops. We can talk hoops for sure.
I wasn't sure if we are gonna talk hoops or not. I watched the game this morning because obviously I fell asleep at 8:00 last night. I'm 85 years old.
Yeah, you're grandpa. So, but for everyone out there, I texted Jack to hang out last night at like 6:00, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, I'll come over for sure." And then I texted him like an hour later, No response. Nothing. I was like, hey, you coming? No response. He's just dead, out, snoring.
Woke up at 11 o'clock and responded. I was like, haha, sorry, fell asleep.
I was still out drinking.
Well, that's the great part too. Is like when you put on Twitter, it was like, I said, what are you doing? You said beers. And I said, yes. And then it's like, fall asleep right after that.
I know. On Twitter, we look so cool, but in real life,
no. Not. No, not at all. Oh man. It's hilarious.
So, yeah, hoops, man. I mean, they looked pretty damn good yesterday again. Obviously the Buffalo game, they looked like really good in the first half. Definitely not as good in the second half, but yesterday it was more, I mean, they looked good from start to finish.
Dude, Hunter hitting a big three. First point of the game, I think. Yeah. I mean, that was a great way to start off the game. But man, this team, my biggest things from that game last night were Caleb Houston has the confidence to take any shot, and the team has confidence in him to make those. I mean, he jacked up I want to say 3 or 4 threes in the first, seemed like 3-5 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. And he missed the first 2, and then he hit the third one. Eli's hitting threes. Devontae Jones, man, he just runs the point so well. This team passes the ball so well. Adrian Nunez, man, if you're coming off the bench, you gotta hit your threes and you gotta make your free throws. You gotta hit your threes and you gotta make your free throws, man. I mean, he had so many wide open threes. I like him as a fan. I think he's so athletic. I think he has the ability to do a lot with that team. I think he's got a lot of confidence. I just want to see those shots go down.
I thought the whole team actually struggled with free throws a little bit. I think they were like 55% or something like that.
And now they've done that in both games. I think they shot like 62% or something in the first game. So that is cause for concern for sure.
Man, it takes me back to the Xavier Simpson days.
Yeah, dude.
I was surprised by that Prairie View team. I thought they played very aggressive on defense. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from? I don't know anything about the program or whatever. So I was going in blind.
Yeah, what they kept saying on the broadcast was they do a great job at takeaways, and we saw that. They had one. I remember a big takeaway down low with Dickinson. I think they stole one from Devontae Jones on a pass coming in around the 3-point line. So they had a solid defense, and I think apparently that's what they pride themselves on is that is the steals and takeaways.
And then did either of you guys hear how like quiet the arena or stadium was? And I was like, I can like hear them calling plays and like coaches talking and things like that. Maybe it was whatever stream or whatever I was watching. Did you guys hear that as well?
I was at the bar watching, so I couldn't. They didn't have the sound on.
It was kind of hard to tell too, because it's like the coaches versus racism, tournament or game, and it's a neutral site. Yeah. So I think it's I think that's why it's so quiet. But I love that though. I love when you can like hear the sneakers on the floor, the ball dribbling, calling out plays, all that stuff. I love that.
Yeah, I loved it. I was like, is this normal? What's going on? So, okay, I didn't realize it was neutral site.
Yeah, and so talking about Caleb Houston, having a freshman in his second game ever chuck up 10 threes is incredible. And he went 50%. Or sorry, 8 threes.
8 threes.
Went 3 for 8. Sorry, I was looking at his field goals. But to go 3 for 8 and have the audacity to chuck up 8 threes is like pretty damn good. I think what I put out on Twitter, and I truly feel this. He looks like he's a 5th-year senior. He just looks so comfortable and smooth, and like there is no hesitation anywhere, man. And like. I agree with you, Jack. I'm sure it comes from Juwan Howard saying, "Hey, man, you got the green light. Go ahead."
Well, and the thing we talked about on the last podcast, you couldn't ask for a better transition from Franz Wagner to a freshman, a true freshman. I mean, this guy's going to be a stud, and there is balanced scoring all around the starting 5. I mean, outside of Brandon Johns, and that's a whole other conversation. But even the bench, man, T. Will had 8. Diabate had 6 with 8 rebounds. Buffkin had 8. Buffkin is bigger than I realized. I didn't realize how tall he was.
Yeah, dude, he's going to be very good. He's going to be very good. And I think so. Call me crazy. I think there might be down the stretch a little battle for minutes between Hunter Dickinson and Diabate. I really do. Diabate has come out and shown like that he can do anything. And Hunter, obviously Hunter is Hunter. He's very good. But I think that, if they play a very, versatile and athletic other big man, then you might have to put Diabate out there because of Diabate's athleticism. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know.
That's a hot take, man. I think if anything, they try to put Diabate at the 4 and take out Johns from the starting lineup, or go out there with 2 centers. Then you have Houston, Devontae Jones and Brooks. I think the biggest battle coming out will be either, kind of like what I just said, T. Will or Diabate, taking over that spot from Brandon Johns. I think Diabate is just a really good compliment to Dickinson, because I don't see there's any way that anybody can take over from him. And there's a battle for minutes there. I think they just try to squeeze in Diabate in the lineup with Dickinson. And that's lethal. Those 2 big guys on the court at the same time. Sheesh.
Yeah, that's a lot of height all on the court at once.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna who in the country has the height outside of Purdue to guard both those guys. And even Purdue, they've got Zach Edey and Travion Williams. Zach Edey is,
he's a gumpy kid.
He's not a human being. Like it's unbelievable. He was grown in a lab. I'm 100% sure of that. And then Travion Williams is like big, but he's not he can't move that well. So as much as if you put Diabate on Travion Williams, Travion Williams is going to back him down forever and ever. But I think that if you went on the other side of the court and Diabate's on offense, Diabate could probably run circles around him, Right. So I don't know. I'm probably getting ahead of myself there. We're 2 games into the season, obviously, but I think what I'll end it there with is that Diabate is going to have a bigger impact than anyone thought this year on what this team does.
Even T. Will. I think T. Will is going to have he'll be the most improved player on the team. I think that's my take from that first 2 games of the season.
Even if T. Will can come in, he went 1 for 3 for 3-point. If he can hit 1 or 2 threes off the bench, man, that's a huge lift. And I think on defense too, we could definitely put him on their best player if their best player is like a small forward or something like that. He can guard anybody because of his length, his size, but he's quick too.
And that's what I love about T. Will too. He's such a Westbrook type. Yeah. He hustles every play. He's always going to go all out. And that's huge. On defense especially, but he can also score a little bit. He went 2 for 6 and 1 for 3 from 3, 3 or 4 from free throws. That's not bad. But he also had 5 rebounds, and that's what I like about Diabate. He had 15 minutes. Johns had 21, but Diabate had 6 points to Johns' 2 points, and Diabate had 8 rebounds to Johns' 6 rebounds. I think the biggest issue for me with Brandon Johns is I feel like he just doesn't have the confidence. I think he's so talented and he can move well. He can do everything. I just feel like he has no confidence when he's out there. That's the biggest thing that bothers me.
There's definitely some mental stuff for Brandon Johns where I feel like if he comes out and makes his first couple buckets or something like that, then all of a sudden it's wow, he's going to have a big game. And then he gets really aggressive. If he misses a couple or struggles early, then he kind of he takes a step back and he's on his heels, and then he doesn't play as aggressive and he's not as good. So there's definitely something there. And I think we've all wished that Brandon Johns for the past probably 3 years was going to take that big leap forward, and he just hasn't. He's still on the brink there. And I think there may be games this year. He's going to be streaky. There may be games this year where he does go out and he's killing it. You know what I mean? And if, for him too, if he can hit that 3-point ball, that makes a huge difference as well. If our 4, if we can make a 3, 1 through 5, essentially if Hunter makes 1 every couple games too, wow. I think that's where this team is lethal. I wanted to bring up too, Devontae Jones stat line, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Come on, man, from your point guard, that's just incredible. So, and he obviously didn't play the full game. He played 30 minutes. He had the most minutes out of anybody, but still.
I do want to point out he only had 1 turnover too.
Yeah.
Which is big.
Man, that is very good. Very good. So I'm looking forward. They play Seton Hall next, I believe this week, right? So
I think they're a pretty good team, historically at least.
Historically, for sure. I think that that's going to be their first like real test to see if they're solid. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, man, let's just think about this. We are in middle November. We got a top 6 Michigan football team. We've got a top 6 Michigan basketball team. I mean, both teams have 1 loss combined. Wow. You just got to be really thrilled to be a Michigan fan. There are negative Nancy's out there. There was one guy in our mentions that was like immediately after the win yesterday talking about how it doesn't matter. We're going to lose to Ohio State. But this wasn't even a big win. Penn State sucks. I'm like, dude, you suck as a person. I'm sorry, but like, why? Like, how can you just immediately watch Michigan win an intense football game and go negative? That frustrates the hell out of me. So enjoy it, man. They won. That was a big game. That's a big win, dude.
Some people are just negative all the time. They always look for the worst in everything. Like, sorry, dude, enjoy your miserable life. Try to enjoy a big win. Like, if you're going to have that outlook on everything, see you later.
See ya. Yes,
Mhm.
I agree. So you got to be pumped to be 9-1, and to come away from Happy Valley with a win. I don't think not many teams do that, right? Like, and how many times has Michigan done that in the past however many years?
I mean, it's the first time under Harbaugh, right?
I believe so.
Second time?
He won his first year.
Okay, with Rudock.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, man, I mean, like, no matter what, he's won in places that Michigan doesn't win often, right? Like this year already. So, there's one big game on the schedule left. Obviously, you got to go out and beat Maryland this week. But, man, to go, I think that obviously we're looking to beat Ohio State consistently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's arguing that fact. But I think that if you look at where you want your program, I'm not thinking about Michigan specifically, but I'm thinking about any football, any AD. You say, hey, what are our goals by the end of the year? I love the fact I always look at it as you're going into the last game of the year with a chance to win a championship, right? You're going into your last stretch with a chance to win a championship. That is where we're at. And I think that, at some point, yes, you want to get over that hump and win that championship, but there are 12 teams in the maybe 11 teams in the Big Ten right now, or 10 teams in the Big Ten that can't say the same, right? And so there are a lot of teams out there that aren't 9-1, that they're already out of the race. They don't have a shot. And you know what? Michigan's not one of them. Michigan can say that, hey, we've still got a shot. And that was the goal. All their goals, like Zach Zinter said, all our goals are still ahead of us. We'll see how it pans out here over the next 2 weeks. But, man, you got to be pumped about where we're at right now, even with a little bit of disappointment through the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3 teams in the Big Ten East that have a shot right now. I mean, it's pretty even across the board. We're hoping for rooting for the Buckeyes, honestly, next weekend. Rooting for the Buckeyes, hoping for a big birthday win against Sparty to help Michigan out.
There you
and
go.
Then Michigan's got to beat Maryland, and then another big game for Michigan, Ohio State, November 27th.
There's room for redemption here. So
yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. This is Blue by 90 presented by Mason Brew. We are sponsored by Truly, by the way. I didn't even say that at the beginning. I was so concerned about my my whole eulogy there. monologue, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite a eulogy. But
Eulogies
monologue works,
is
yeah.
for funerals, which
Yeah.
nobody there.
Hopefully this is not a funeral for our podcast.
This
Yeah.
was it was a funeral for Sean Clifford because I think he's dead today.
Agreed. Yeah.
So but thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 podcast on YouTube. Well, actually, I think we'll be on the Maize and Brew YouTube.
We'll be on the
right?
Maize and Brew YouTube now. Yeah.
There you go. So follow us there. We'll put video content on there. I myself will be on the Brewcast as well with Von Lozon and Luke Giardi. So we're going to be, a lot more involved in the Maize and Brew stuff going forward, doing some writing as well. So we'll put some articles out. Podcasts, you can expect them twice a week throughout the football season and basketball season. So we're pumped to be here. We're very excited. Thank you guys for listening, and go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.